the music business has changed a lot since the Fishbone days. Dynamically, how do you compare trying to break a band like Year of the Dragon in now, as opposed to how you guys broke in as Fishbone?
Well, to me, it's similar to the same process, except for, just got to be tighter with the business aspect of it, with Year of the Dragon, so that we don't make a lot of the same mistakes that maybe Fishbone would have made.
Do you see, like, the digital media age? I mean, it's a whole different ball game now, and that's going to lead into another question I have: is what advice do you have for young artists trying to make it now? Because the internet, as much as it's a blessing, it's also a curse because it's flooding the music scene with mediocrity. How do you stand out? How do you make people see you?
Put on as many videos as you can, put out as much music as you can, try and be as visual as you can. That's the only advice that I can truly give them. And if they have people that can help them get more visible and, get more publicity, then they should, look into that.
And you know what? Let me add to that this whole battle of the band shit is some bullshit that these clubs have come up with to try to make a little chump change, but you don't see as many individual artists because of it. There were guys that could do music and stand out because they were the encouragement used to be to try to do something new and something that belonged to you. And now with bands, is to be homogenous, is to be the same, but then figure out who brings the most girls to the club or who brings the most drinking customers. Back in the day, a promoter would find a band like Fishbone and like, this is the greatest shit I've ever seen. I ain't never seen nothing like it, but this shit is awesome. So I want to feature it because it's like the most original shit that I've seen. Whereas now, the whole thing is not even centered on originality. It's centered on, can you bring in people who drink? And clubs don't care, or promoters don't care about anybody having an individual sound. And it also hurts the bands themselves because, when you create a scene of any kind of music, be it hip-hop or rock or country, you need for the bands to be united. The bands share the audiences. The bands play together. They help each other out. And a scene naturally evolves out of all that. But you can't have a scene now because young artists of every genre, not just rock, but hip-hop or whatever, are encouraged to battle each other. They literally feel like they're battling for their survival. So they're trying to come up with the most commercial shit they hear on the radio, the poppiest shit that has no roots in originality. And the cool thing to me still about hip-hop is that, underground talents can still shine through and make a living. You got your Gene Grays. You got your Action Bronsons. You got your Yellow Wolves that can still find their niche, in their hometowns and rise above the crowd, and then still create scenes around what they do. They bring up other rappers. Machine Gun Kelly is another one. They bring up other rappers underneath them, and, they make a scene. And that's really one of the biggest things I would say to young bands is, work on your craft, work on your stage show, try to create something that nobody else has heard, and try as little as possible not to participate in that fucking battle of the band shit, and instead befriend other bands and make something happen with those bands. Let's bring each other up.
Good point. Year of the Dragon's going to be opening up Fishbone soon. I think it's, San Francisco?
Yes, sir.
And what's the date of that show? Do we know that date?
No, I don't know. No dates.
You know what? It's a week from. It's this coming Friday. So whatever this Friday's date is, I think it's the 23rd. I believe it's 23rd.
Okay. Well, how do you feel about that? Are you gonna have enough stamina to make it through the night, Walt?
Huh?
That's gonna be a long night, man. You gonna have enough stamina to make it through that night?
Oh yeah. I've been keeping up with my roller skating and you know, trying to keep healthy, eat healthy, you know. So I should be able to make it through just fine. Just bring me some herb and some Blue Moon, I'm good to go.
Yeah. So is there a possibility of more dates with Fishbone? Maybe even a tour? Hint, hint.
Well, I would hope so. We'll find out after this gig.
Yeah, I think this gig is, I told somebody that asked me, you know, a couple of people been asking me about that. Because, you know, the fans been wanting to see it for years. You know, we get asked, you know, I've been asked a lot on the internet and at some of these shows, and Walt has been asked, you know, pretty much all over the world, you know, be it on tours here, the tours in Europe, when Year the Dragon is going to play with Fishbone. And to me, this is like a first date. So we're going to see how the first date goes. If we get lucky, get some action and get laid, then maybe it'll keep going. But, you know, sometimes the first dates don't work out too good for whatever reason. You know, maybe there's no chemistry or what have you. So hopefully it'll be some chemistry and, you know, we can do some more gigs together because I think that helps everybody and keeps the familyhood thing going. You know, it's all love with the individual people. Like I said, I know Norwood pretty good at this point, and, you know, it's all love with him. So hopefully the first date will go well.
Well, I remember you guys, Fishbone, you guys did a Nuttstalk tour 1 or 2 years. And I always dreamt of seeing something like that, like the whole family, like a whole night of, like, just the Fishbone family. You think there's any chance that could ever happen again? Like we might see, you know, Year of the Dragon and Truly or Disgracious as one big tour. That would be dope. I would love to see that.
Yeah, no, I could see that happening sometime in the future.
It's been something that's been kicked around too. You know, it hasn't been a solid plan, but it's, you know, everybody's kicked that around. You know, with not just the bands you mentioned, but also Weapon of Choice.
Yes, I was going to mention Weapon of Choice.
Yeah, you know, Mad Vibe, and maybe even Columbus Sanitation. You know, it's you know, that would be a magical thing if we could get it to happen. But right now, just, you know, when anytime you plan something like that, you know, everybody's schedule's got to coordinate because there's quite a few members of the familyhood network, you know, by osmosis that don't tour with Fishbone and have other schedules too. So it's really just getting everybody scheduling together and, you know, seeing how all that works out.
Even if it's like a one-off deal, like in LA, just do it like one summer or something. That'd be just crazy. But,
it sure would. We're keeping our fingers crossed too, just like you.
I'm keeping my toes crossed too. That's how serious I am.
Hey, I'm keeping my nutsack crossed. Both my nuts are crossed up right now.
That might hurt, dude. Hey, so let me just ask you guys now, what do you guys personally, Rodcore, we'll start with you. What do you personally listen to nowadays? What's on your iPod? What do you really like? Or what's in your CD player in the truck or the car? What are you listening to these days?
Well, with my iPod, I got that on shuffle. So I just kind of, you know, take whatever comes up. I know this morning I had on a mixtape by this guy from the East Coast named Action Bronson.
Right.
Him, Sir Joe Quartermain, an old school funker from the 70s. 24/7 Spies came up. Rollins Band, Yellow Wolf. That is the rapper right now that I'm just in love with, is Yellow Wolf. That's my boy. When I saw him open for Fishbone last year, I was like, I'm going to get everything this cat has, and I have. You know, it's just a variety of stuff. It's pretty much the same thing that's made everybody, you know, a fan of bands like Fishbone. You tend to have those different influences. You tend to love everything. So, you know, what's on my iPod and your iPod is probably not that much different.
Right. Right. Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that, because you sound like you're right in the same vein. A little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Walt, what about you? What are you vibing to these days, Walt?
Well, you know, I try to keep it funky when I vibe out. You know, I stay in the funky mode as much as possible for the good feelings. But I like a lot of go-go. So, you know, I listen to go-go bands.
Okay.
Yeah.
I spent some time in D.C., and I I used to love going to shows. I remember going to a hip hop show, and they had hip hop and go-go at the arena, and but it's weird to me that go-go never really broke out of that region. It's still hot in D.C., but you never hear it any place else.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it really
so I listen to, go-go stuff out of New Orleans.